Hello, Namaste. I Nirmala Rawat welcome you to my YouTube channel. Currently, I am reading How Mata Sita Educated Love and Kush. In the last part, we got to know how willpower can help to make impossible possible. Stories about Kamdhenu, the great sages Ahilya, Arundhati, Rishi Vashishth, Rishi Vishwamitra, and their sacrifices and contribution to make earth a better place to live. Now moving on to Part 4, Chapter 20, Education of Love and Kush. Ma, began Love. Mata turned to face him. Is that why we hold cows so dear? In part, she replied. When I see a cow, I always think of Kamdhenu and the love and loyalty between her and Sage Arundhati. The Maharaja would have misused Kamdhenu's gifts and made her life a misery. To protect her, who had given them so much over the years from this fate, Arundhati had to sacrifice her sons, who were so dear to her. She was upholding Dharma at a great personal price. Then Mata smiled and added, You should look at all female animals as your daughters. And all male animals as our sons? Kush asked. Mata nodded. You must protect them the best you can. Come, let's go inside. There's chill in the air. Once they were settled back in the hut, Kush asked, What happened to that wicked Maharaja who cursed their sons to die? Oh, he became a great Rishi. You know him as Vishwamitra. The eyes of the boys opened wide. Yes, after many years of tapasya, he became a great Rishi and was overcome by tremendous grief as a result of what his uncontrolled anger had led him to do. After many long years of meditation, he was able to bring forth one of the greatest mantra, the Gayatri mantra. You recite that every morning, don't you? The boys nodded. It was Sage Vishwamitra who was able to hear this mantra in the celestial world and bring the words into the human realm so that our ears could hear it. You know, there are many beautiful and powerful celestial sounds our human ears cannot hear, but through his meditation, he was able to make this powerful mantra audible to human ears. Rishi Vashishth was in meditation one day when he heard the Gayatri mantra being chanted. He bowed and said, I pay homage to the one who has given us this mantra. Just then he realized who had brought this mantra into the world, and his heart opened in forgiveness. Soon after, Rishi Vishwamitra came to Rishi Vashishth and asked for forgiveness. The sage forgave him, but said he had to gain the forgiveness of his wife, who mourned deeply the loss of her sons. Sage Arundhati's heart is as big as the sky. She is unable to hold any anger in her. And so, when the Rishi approached her, she had already forgiven him. She kindly said, Look, how much good has come from such a painful situation. You have become a powerful force for good in the universe and will bring benefit to so many. And my daughters have created a world free of suffering that will set an example for humankind in the ages to come. The boys were thoughtful, and Mata asked, What have you learned from this story? Love was the first to answer, that even the most terrible deed can be forgiven and good can come of it. That is the most important lesson. Our hearts must be large enough to forgive even the worst of deeds. But the doer of such a deed must come to understand the wrong that was done. Only then is forgiveness possible, replied Mata. She turned to Kush. And what did you learn, Kush? He didn't respond right away. Finally, he said, I am thinking of Sage Arundhati's daughters and what a great thing they did for their parents. But he fell silent. But what, Kush? She asked gently. But you don't have any daughters. If something were to happen to us, who would help you get over your grief? He asked in a concerned tone. Mata smiled. You are right. I don't have daughters, but I will have granddaughters. Each of you will give me one, and nothing will happen to you, I assure you. I wish there would be a world with no more curses, he replied with a yawn. Seeing how tired they were, Mata and I took them inside. They insisted on sleeping with her that night as they were still concerned that something might happen to them. As Love was drifting off to sleep, he asked, Ma, how did you get to that world? It is so far away. She began to explain. While you sleep, I walk among the stars, making sure that love and peace prevails. How can you walk with no earth beneath you? Asked Kush in the dreamiest of tones. There are many ways of walking, sons, and many ways of traveling. This earth is not the only place in need. There is life all over this universe that needs care. The boys drifted off to sleep, and Mata slipped out and sat gazing at the night sky. I found her thus when I went to take my leave for the night. I won't be in this world to see my granddaughters, or even the wives of Love and Kush. She spoke in a quiet voice as she stared at Arundhati's star. But you will be, Soma. You will know my granddaughters, and I will have to hold them through your arms and look at them through your eyes. I will want them to have all the freedom I had in Mithila. You must see to it. You must promise me that. Mata, why do you say this? You are still young and in good health. I was alarmed and a trembling came over me. She didn't respond to my question, but insisted that I make her this promise. Finally, I said, Mata, you know that whatever you ask will be done by me. But please, do not speak of departing from this world. That I will not be able to bear. This was the first time such a subject had come up between us, and it was the first indication that Mata would not be long with us. Some days later, I was putting Mata's son to bed. Love said to Kush, the stories Ma tells us are so different from the ones we hear at the hermitage. She must be a very great sage, greater even than Guruji. I think she is the greatest sage that ever lived, even greater than the rishis, replied Kush with a yawn. I smiled and thought to myself, if only they knew who their mother truly was. Mata continued to tell stories to the children over the years their growing up. One night they asked her to tell the story of Lady Ahilya and Sage Gautam. How do you know about them? She inquired. She had never told them that story, thinking they were not old enough to understand. Kush replied that one of the boys at the hermitage had said that Sage Gautam had cursed his wife for being unfaithful to him, and this was a lesson for all women. What does that mean, Ma? Asked Kush. Mata was quiet, and I suspect she was debating whether to speak to them of that matter. In the end, she decided to tell the story. I will tell the story of what happened because I knew them. She began. When I was a child, the son of Sage Gautam and Sage Ahilya was our family priest. I was fond of him, but there was a sadness about him that I couldn't penetrate. Whenever I asked him why he seemed sad, he replied there had been a family tragedy many years ago that had never been resolved. I went to my father and asked what could be done, but Pitaji just shook his head and said, we must wait until the right moment. Nobody would tell me what this tragedy was. Jai Shri Ram. I hope we all too learn something from this. Do let me know your views through comment. Please share the stories with young ones in your families so that they should be familiar with our great history and learn beautiful things. Jai Shri Ram.